Hey guys, welcome to the Dowwoods 2 podcast. Thanks for checking in. I have another exciting guest here today with I have a bunch of episodes I'm shooting today, so I'm excited to share with you guys what these guys have. Some of my good friends today. It's a guy that I've come to know more over the past few months. I haven't known him as long as the other guys, but he's a cool dude. We have Abe Mundorff. Yeah.
Hey, Will. Yeah,
All right.
thanks for having me on this. I'm excited, and it's like whenever I walked in and saw the set and your setup, I mean, this is awesome. So
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah, it's fun. I enjoy it. I enjoyed hearing what Jake had to say. He had a lot. Just talk about his life and how he has a different journey than the journey you and I are taking so far, at least.
Yeah.
You never know what will happen, but for now, we kind of have our fall semesters at college. So, yeah, I just want to start with how your journey of deciding what college, what major, kind of what you wanted throughout high school and how you got to where you're now going to UPJ as
Yeah. Yep.
is it which major is it? What are you
I'm
majoring in?
I'm going to UPJ and I'm majoring in civil engineering.
Okay, civil engineering. So
And-
yeah, how did you get to that?
Yeah, it was I mean, like most people, it was a long process, and I really didn't know what I wanted to do at
Yeah.
first. So I thought about considered a bunch of stuff, and the way I actually landed on civil engineering. So I landed on that before I chose which school I wanted to go to.
Okay.
I decided I want to be an engineer, and the way I kind of landed on that was So I work for a contractor, Alex Varner.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that contracting, figuring out stuff,
Yeah.
this structure, building, that
Yeah,
stuff, working
yeah.
with your hands.
Yeah, something
And-
physical, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like a mathy type guy too. So
Okay.
I decided on engineering. And I mean, the college process, I'm sure like for you, I considered a bunch of schools.
Yeah.
And I actually chose Pitt Johnstown because of a bunch of reasons. But one was because their engineering program is very good.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's everyone who goes through it says how they've learned so much, and you can get jobs really easy right out of college.
Yeah.
And also, I was wanting to commute to college, and I
Okay.
am.
Yeah.
And it's like 35 minutes from my house.
Okay,
So
yeah.
I live close.
Yeah.
Kind of know the area.
Yeah. You
But
have the best food of anybody going to college. there,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, for sure. And
Yeah.
it was a long decision. And a lot of prayer, and the Lord just helped me decide where to go. So
Yeah, and so you talked about looking at a bunch of different schools. How many do you have like realistically on your list? Like a lot of people have like, oh, I have these 20 I'm looking at. Because you just put some on the list. It's like, okay, I want this, I want this. How did you guys do that? Did you guys tour, you drove around campus, then went back on an official tour? How did you guys eliminate all the other options to then go to UPJ?
okay, so yeah, all the options that I had were based on kind of like the prerequisites, what I wanted to do, engineering and commute.
Okay.
So everything that I chose was close, within like 45 minutes.
Okay.
So I was looking at maybe like 6 schools or so.
Okay.
And really, with the process of elimination, was just looking at the program for each school. And, I talked to some people that went through programs and stuff, went to some schools, and it was just kind of, I mean, the way I kind of landed on, so I didn't really eliminate a bunch. It was kind of that Pitt Johnstown kind of stood out.
Okay.
And one thing that's really nice, and I know you're going to get this too at Cedarville, is it's a small campus. So while I'll get a Pitt degree, there's like 2,000 kids there.
Yeah.
And the teacher to like student ratio
Yeah.
is really nice, because it's like at the most, I mean, I've talked to people there, and they say the biggest class you're going to get is like 30 kids.
Yeah.
That's the biggest. And a lot of the time it's 12 or 5 or 10 or somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So it felt like more of like a homey kind of just
Yeah, it's a more
smaller,
personal relationship
personal
with the profs
experience, right.
instead of like you're going to Pitt, Maine. and you have like
Oh.
500 kids or 1,000 kids in a
Oh,
class
man.
because there's like 40,000 on campus there.
Yeah, I don't know about you,
And
but
so-
I'm not a city guy. So if I went to
Yeah.
Pitt, Maine, it would drive me insane just
Yeah.
like getting around, walking through traffic and stuff.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I mean, I've always had interest. I love the city of Pittsburgh in
Yeah.
general. Like it's one of my favorite places in the world. So
Mhm.
I've thought about if I do graduate school, if that's an option, just keeping that open. If I go straight into the workplace, graduate school, whatever is needed, Pitt would probably be one of my options. Because I do enjoy urban. I could never like live there long term. Like
Right.
I'm not raising kids in Pittsburgh.
Oh, man.
That'd be wild.
You're like,
but
oh, where's Charlie at? Oh, he's running out on the street.
you run out on the street. It's like, well, that's great. But yeah, it's like, that's big. It's really huge, and like the community is just so different. Like you have to go find your little group among the mass of people. Whereas like at UPJ or specifically Cedarville, like with the tight knit Christian community, it's like you can, if you want to, you can know everybody. Like 3,500 kids on campus. There's 5,000 total. Like you could know a lot of people if you wanted to, but it's big enough where it's like it's not like you run past the same people every day for 1,000 days. It's like you could meet a new person every day.
Yeah.
So I think even with 2,000 kids, you still have that balance. Especially UPJ is a little bit spread out. I mean, there's Penn Highlands right beside it,
Right.
and stuff like that. And I know some people have gone there. So yeah, it's that fine line of like it's not like 1,000 kids or like 500
Yeah.
kids, and it's like yeah.
See, it's going to be interesting for me too because I actually don't know anybody that's
Okay.
going there. So I'm kind of just walking into it.
Yeah.
And you know some people. You have a roommate you said you actually met
Yeah.
who's from Maryland, and that's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't know a single person there.
Okay.
So it's going to be interesting finding a group of friends, particularly believers in the
Yeah.
Lord Jesus Christ. And I'm kind of just trusting the Lord there that He's going to help me out with that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's different ways I could do that, right?
Yeah.
So there's like programs, there's clubs and stuff.
Yeah.
One way that I actually am hoping to meet other Christians there is evangelizing.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I like to do this a lot with Isaiah and
Yeah.
Aaron. You know Isaiah.
Yeah. Yep.
And Isaiah's coming on later.
Yeah,
so-
he'll be on later. Yep.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we actually evangelize a lot at IUP.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll just go up to people and we'll be like, hey, can we ask you a question about Jesus Christ?
Yeah.
Or can we share the gospel with you? And we'll always start with, well, who do you think that Jesus is?
Yeah.
And, there's a variety of answers. A lot of people just say, well, he's my savior. He was a good man.
Mhm.
Or some people will say he died for me. And he did, but we're kind of like trying to figure out if they believe in Jesus Christ
Or if
being
they have a
God.
true relationship.
Right.
Like you can believe in God. Like people like there's not an analogy, but a way people phrase it. It's like demons believe in God because He's real and they know He's real. And people who are, I guess, like Satanists or in that realm, they believe in God. They just reject Him.
Mm-hmm.
You can believe in God while not being saved or a believer or like having a relationship with
Yeah,
Jesus. It's a
and
different thing.
I mean, like, I don't know if every religion, I would assume that every religion has a God.
Yeah.
And really, if it's a false God, it's not a real God.
Yeah.
And if they don't believe that Jesus Christ is God, He's the Son of God,
Mm-hmm.
and that He came to earth, paid for our sins, rose from the grave, and He's coming back.
Yeah.
If they don't believe that, then they have a false God.
Yeah.
I mean, I could look all day. I could look at some Jesus and say, yeah, he was a good man, but he wasn't God. And if they don't believe that, then they have a false identity to
Yeah.
Him, and therefore a false God.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. Back to like what I was saying, like meeting new people,
Yeah.
and that will be one way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm kind of just walking in blind,
Yeah.
just trusting in the Lord.
Yeah, and that's a perspective I don't have. I've always just through my jobs and like being homeschooled, having to find friends. Like if I wasn't diligent in finding friends or finding the group that I found in Indiana, which has been amazing, then I
Yeah.
wouldn't have any.
Yeah.
Because it'd be easy just to be sitting in my room and I do homework and I play a sport and then I'm done. So I've found a fair amount of people that I know at Cedarville. Some of my former soccer teammates from the Dominican Republic are there.
Nice.
I know some kids. This one girl from Guatemala. She was a missionary.
Cool.
So that's cool. And then like I enjoy Spanish, and like my goal is to be fairly fluent in it. And right
Okay.
now I'm in the scale. Like C2 is the highest, A1's the lowest. I'm a B2.
Okay.
Because A1, A2, B1, B2, and all that. So it would be interesting to find like a group there where I can practice that. Because
Yeah.
I know a fair amount of kids that, both missionary kids and obviously my former teammate who are like fluent in Spanish and all that. Spanish is so fast. That's one thing whenever I'm learning this language, it's like trying to listen to Eminem and then respond to it. like, like I'm trying to like listen to Rap God and then try to have a conversation with that person. It's a wild language.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going in with like the knowledge I know probably anywhere from I know and like have a relationship in an extent with like 20 to 30 people. And then I know of like 60-ish, give or take.
Yeah, that's awesome, and
So-
good for you. That's like a great thing. And still, I mean, you said Cedarville has like 3,500
Yeah.
people on campus. I'm sure there's still many relationships to form there,
Yeah.
and that's going to be awesome for you.
Yeah, because the nice thing with college too is like you go in as a freshman, you can be friends with the sophomores, juniors, seniors, and then seniors will leave and there'll be another set to meet. So throughout your time, it's almost honestly take the number that your school has, 3,500, and then just add that 3 times over of all the kids that will be coming in later. So it's really like almost 8,000 or 9,000 that you could possibly have a relationship. So same at UPJ, like 2,000 now, and then they leave, and then the other groups come in, and it's almost up to 6,000 kids
Yeah.
you could meet up with. So it's really, yeah, it's an interesting opportunity. And college is formatted in that way. Like you'd have to be diligent not to meet some people to an extent. Like you'd really have to try to not know
Right.
some people at least. Like maybe it could be hard to get those first relationships, but once you get into a group, it can just start to expand because then those people know some people, and then it just
Yeah.
builds upon that.
Yeah,
So-
that's definitely like one thing lately I've really enjoyed is just kind of branching out. So I was homeschooled too.
Yeah.
And you know, like there's that whole joke about homeschoolers having no friends.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is actually funny because recently I had a grad party
Yeah.
this summer, and my one uncle came, and he said to my parents, he's like, "Wow, I didn't know that your son had so many friends." And I was like, "Oh, well, thanks a lot." But
Yeah.
so yeah, there's that whole joke about that.
Yeah.
But lately, especially like as I've gotten mid high school, you know, sophomore, junior, senior year,
Yeah.
I've started to branch out more and like go to other churches, meet new people, and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And I've really enjoyed it, just growing my community of the body of Christ and getting to know more people and knowing that these are eternal relationships. Whenever
Yeah.
people are believers in Jesus Christ, it's not just like you're friends with them on earth and then you're never going to see them again. I could meet somebody and know them for a month and then never see them for the rest of my life, but I have eternity with them.
Yeah.
And that's amazing for me to think about and really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've enjoyed doing that more lately and excited to continue.
Yeah.
that. So,
And so back then to homeschooling, how long were you homeschooled? Were you homeschooled throughout, like
Yeah.
all the way from preschool to senior year?
yes. So
Nice.
I was homeschooled my
Homeschool
whole
lifer,
life.
yeah.
Yeah.
Same here. Yeah, my mom went. She went to Cedarville. I'm a second generation, so both of my
Yeah.
parents met at Cedarville, and she went for elementary education. So she taught us all like preschool to. The way we do it is like it's preschool to like 7th grade, and then it's more online on top of what my mom teaches because she does really well at like teaching us to read. Like she does good with like the ABCs and like
Yeah.
learning all that stuff.
Yeah.
She's a really good teacher. But how have you felt that homeschooling specifically has helped you in preparing for college and your preparedness? And I feel like you'd probably know more obviously after your first semester. It's like, oh, homeschool helped me with this, and then all your friends that you find like that went to public school, like what their struggles with the transition from public school to college would be compared to yours. So how do you think homeschool and the schedule with that? Because you kind of have to do your own schedule to an extent
Yeah,
sometimes.
right.
Like you have to will yourself to get up some days because sometimes it's like, hey, you're like old now, you can take care of yourself a little bit. Like how do you think homeschool has been for you?
Yeah, I mean, like, real quick, while I'm still thinking about this, because
Yeah.
you just said this, yes, you can set your own schedule, and you have to be diligent with that.
Yeah.
And it's easy to, like, you know, work ahead a little bit and
Yeah.
get done maybe a month early with
Yeah.
school. But it's just as easy to think, I want to go hang out with friends
Yeah,
today.
yeah.
I can double up tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know. So, but yeah, it's been a great experience, honestly, and I'm really glad that my parents decided to homeschool me. And the difference, one difference that I see in being homeschooled and public schooled is just less distraction. So whenever I'm going into college, I've taken all the same courses in
Yeah.
school as public school kids. And I think that I have far less distraction as far as like unnecessary things.
Yeah.
But the one way that it's really like been extra beneficial is just growing in the Lord through homeschool.
Yeah.
And because of that, less distraction. So, my dad's a pastor, and I've been a Christian ever since I was young.
Yeah.
And I think that if I had taken the path to go to public school along with a lot of kids,
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know what, but the distraction there can really shift your focus off of Christ and onto things of the world. And I think of James 1 whenever it says to be unspotted from the world.
Yeah.
And really, like, there are some things that you experience, I mean, even just being in sports, there are things that I experience that's like, wow, this is what I would go through every day if I was in public school.
Yeah.
And I think homeschooling has prepared me, it's kept me focused on Christ and my schoolwork and family. And that's really just prepared me a lot more for, I think, the next steps in my life. And I hope to continue that throughout college as well. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'd say like homeschooling for me, we did this thing called morning time when I was younger, and then now my younger siblings are doing it with my mom, where it was like before we started the day. So whatever time that was when we were younger, it was 7, then it moved to 8 and all that. We just have time. We'd read a novel, usually like a nonfiction, like Narnia or something like that. And then we'd do a Bible study. So that was pretty much 5 days a week during the school year. We just have a Bible study. It was my mom and myself, my brother, and my sister. I mean, my sister was like a baby, but she was there. And so it was just having that integration. It's like you can customize it. You can customize homeschooling to whatever you want it to be.
Yeah.
So you can orient it fully in the belief and like intertwine it, find Christian-based sciences and math and all of that. And then you can also, if you want to have your kid experience a contrast and do like writing is the same. You write the same stuff. There's no like
matter where you
Christian
learn.
version of writing. It's maybe just the content is the difference between secular and Christian writing. So having that contrast of views intertwined, so you can see like, oh, that's what that is. This is what Christian is. This is like all that. So I think it's the opportunity to be able to see both without a tainted bias. I mean, obviously we're all biased because we have the Holy Spirit within us, but it's like the teacher isn't biased against you. Like you can just see it. That's what it is. And then just learn from that. Especially taking dual enrollment for myself. All of my dual enrollment classes were through Christian schools. So I took a couple through Cedarville. Cedarville has a little log of online, but then the most of mine were through Liberty, because Liberty has like an insane online presence. They're one of the biggest online colleges in the world.
Yeah.
So, and it's cool that's a Christian one as well. Like they have like 117,000 students across the world,
Wow.
just because there's so much online.
Yeah, that's pretty big.
And which is epic, 'cause it's like Christian content
Yeah.
to those, like for those who are trying to get a graduate degree and those who are doing undergraduate. It's all from a Christian perspective. And so that was really helpful for me, just to be in that like big Christian. Like there's, you can have small communities, but having that bigness is really nice too. And
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Just like having that community and being able to do that compared to, I don't know, Liberty and Cedarville sound much better than if you would do somewhere else. I don't know.
yeah, I mean Liberty is huge. They have 17,000 on campus. Like it's such a big school. It's one of it is officially like the biggest college in the world.
Is
Just
it?
with the online
Wow.
thing, it's 110,000 students, which is insane. But on campus they have about 17 to 18,000, and then probably like off campus they might be at 25.
Huh.
So it's like one of the biggest Christian institutions on campus in
Wow.
the world. And it's a crazy place down there. They have some big buildings and just so much stuff that you can do.
Yeah, that's the school
Yeah.
where like the joke is half the people get married in the first month.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's an interesting. I toured it. It was one of the colleges I was looking at because
Yeah.
through my college search, I had criteria as well. I mean, I think that's how most people look at colleges. I wasn't 100% set on my specific major. I knew it was going to be business, regardless. It was going to be business marketing, business management, maybe like entrepreneurship. I ended up with marketing. That's kind of more of how I'm geared. And that was one of my parameters, business, a decent business program. Another was Christian. I preferred definitely a Christian
Right.
school. Just like some people believe, there's two sides I hear from Christians. It's like they believe that Christian universities don't prepare kids for the world. They're like, oh, that's not the real world yet. And then there's the other side. It's like, well, people live in the real world all of their lives and have to deal with that. Why not give them 4 more years of extra preparation in a Christ-centered environment before they're pushed out? Because it's like 18 years and then you're straight into the real world, or maybe you get that extra 4 and you're like 22 and you have that really good basis of like a Christian community that builds you up. So then when you go into the real world, whatever that means, it's like you're more prepared, you'd hope. So that was kind of one of my big things was Christian community. And then size did matter to me a little bit. I'd say I had like 6 schools. So to contrast the Christian schools, I looked at Slippery Rock, Grove City, Liberty, Cedarville, Messiah, and then there's one more, just some other Christian school, probably like a Geneva or something like that up north in
Right.
Pennsylvania. And I toured them all. The way we would do it for the close schools is my family would drive up and just look at the campus. It's like the campus decent, because that can usually tell if the school
Yeah.
has money and they're actually investing in itself. And then we do like official tours. So I officially toured Liberty, Grove City, Cedarville, and I'd been to Cedarville a lot because I had cousins that went there
Yeah,
and my
your
parents. So it came down to Liberty and Cedarville. Those were the last 2 because it was like Cedarville was a good size. It's not like 1,000 kids where it's like, hey, I know that guy and that guy. I know everybody. But it's also not so big. And I almost say that's why I didn't go to Liberty because it was so big, where I kind of want to know as many kids or almost know everybody.
Yeah.
Because I can I can help whoever I'd want. I can get involved in anything. Whereas at Liberty, it's like there's so many people. It's like you kind of stay in your own lane.
It's kind of unrealistic to
Yeah,
meet
to-
everybody there.
Yeah, it's like all the music people, they do the music stuff. If you're in business, you do the business stuff. And there's not a lot of like, just from what I saw, there's not a lot of like, oh, if you want to like take a minor in music or like join like a music group. It's like, no, there's so many musicians that are so good, you wouldn't have any chance.
Yeah.
So it's like at Cedarville, it's at the size where you can kind of do a bunch of different things if you really like want to.
Yeah.
Because it's small enough that there's not that pool of like so many people that they're all experts in their field. It's like you can kind of dabble, which I think is big for college, like expanding what you know. Like that's why I went to minor in music. It's like I'm not getting that anywhere else. So having that opportunity to be in different, I guess it'd be schools, like the school of music, school of business. Liberty is one of the top music schools in the world. My one
Okay.
friend is in the music department. It's like number 3 or something, which is really cool. Like another Christian
that's
institution
awesome,
up at the top. So, yeah, so that's kind of how I landed on Cedarville. I wanted a little bit smaller, but not like tiny.
Yeah.
I wanted a good community. They have a good business program. And knowing a fair amount of people helped too. Like I knew a few people. One of my really good friends is down at Liberty.
Cool.
And, but yeah, Cedarville is just kind of where it ended up.
Yeah.
Because I never really wanted to come home every weekend for college. Like that wasn't my vision for college. Some
Right.
people like that. My one other friend, he's going to Lancaster Bible College, and he's planning on coming back every weekend. And so it's just different. It's like what you want. I know I wanted like, okay, this is time for college. I did homeschool, and I was home a lot.
Yeah.
I want to like see
You're kinda
how
like,
it is.
it's my time to be away from home.
Yeah.
I was there enough.
Yeah, so
I
it's
understand.
my
that, yeah.
time to explore that. My family's really close, like all my siblings and
That's
myself.
awesome.
So it's not like I want to be away from them like some people are. It's just like, if I want to find how the world is and how I can function and take care of myself, I need that separation for a bit. And then when I'm back
Yeah.
on breaks, I'm always with my family.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so the distance of 5 hours was never like, I almost saw it as a little bit of a plus because then it made it a lot harder to want to come back on the weekend.
Just close enough that you can come back, like
Yeah.
for holidays and
Yeah,
stuff.
like
but-
if there's a long weekend where I need to come back,
right,
I can
but then
definitely do
far enough that you're not going to every week.
it. Yeah, it's like, oh, it's only an hour. I can just shoot back Friday night and
Yeah.
it'll be fine. So,
Yeah, and I think you would definitely be tempted to do that
Oh, yeah.
if you went to school in like
100%.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, definitely. So I think that was just that 5 hour gap's big because Messiah is about 3 hours. They're over near Harrisburg.
Yeah.
So even 3 hours, just because I was so used to with the soccer that I did and how much I traveled for that, 3 hours would be like nothing to me. Just to like, I can hit it back Friday night after class, 3 hours. 5 hours, it's like, man, it's like midnight when I get back. So it'd be kind of difficult. So
Yeah, and we kind of talked about this before, but because you and I kind of live farther away from everyone we know, I mean, it's not hours, not by any means that far.
Yeah.
But because we're at least 30, 40 minutes from people that, like, things that we do, people we know
Yeah.
a lot, we're kind of more used to that,
Yeah.
traveling. I mean, I've talked to people before, and I tell them, I'm like, yeah, I go to church in Indiana, and I live about 35 minutes away from Indiana or so.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I go to church there, and I go to work there every day.
Yeah.
And they're like, wow, you drive 35 minutes every day? And I'm like, yeah, 35 minutes there, 35 minutes back. And it's really not that bad.
Yeah.
But we're kind of more used to that.
yeah, we are. There's like,
Sure.
that's one thing I'm really excited about, like having a dorm on campus.
Oh, that would be nice.
Is I can just walk out and it's like, there's people I know. I don't have to
Yeah.
drive 30 minutes to see them. I can walk out and just be like, hey, you want to hang out in like 5 minutes or something? Like that's
Yeah.
just never a thing I've experienced really. Like
Same here. Yeah.
like where I live, my cousins are up there, my grandparents and myself. We all live on the same property, so I've had that. But like with friends, it's usually like, hey, you want to hang out? Yeah, give me like a business day in advance or something. Like
a full week
A
sometimes.
full week sometimes. It's like, yeah, I can't just shoot up there or jump over to your house real quick. So that's one of the most exciting things I'd say about
That is
college for
really
me.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
That is nice for sure. And I guess I didn't fully. I'm just thinking back, like, to the first question, how you asked, like, why I decided to go to college, and I guess I didn't fully answer that. I'll kind of just expand on that a little bit. So I didn't actually know for a while if I wanted to go to college, and this was when I was younger.
yeah,
And after I landed on being an engineer, I mean, that was kind of, I decided, yeah, I want to go to school to be an engineer.
Yeah.
But I didn't always kind of know that.
Okay.
And I think one of the selling points for me was being able to have a solid foundation that I can provide for a family someday.
Okay.
Right. So, while there are so many jobs, like Jake owns car
Yeah, like
wash. He
Jake,
didn't go
yeah.
to school. That's a solid job. He'll
Yeah,
be
yeah,
able
yeah.
to provide for Chloe and his kid and
Yeah.
the rest of his family. But just for me, I was thinking, yeah, this is probably a solid route that I can have this degree.
Yeah.
I mean, even if I would go do something else, I have this degree to fall back on
Yeah.
always. So having a college degree was huge for me, and just being able to provide for a family someday and have a solid foundation for them.
yeah, and it's like I don't think there's any wrong route to take. There's nothing wrong
Right.
with going straight into the workforce, going
yeah,
to
I'm not-
college, or going with Jimmy. He went to tech school for
Right.
18 months.
Yeah, like
and-
you were saying with Jake, I mean,
Yeah.
trades are high demand.
Yeah.
I know sometimes whenever we get jobs, whenever people call us to redo a kitchen or a bathroom or something for them, we'll be like, yeah, we'll get to you in about 9 months or something.
Yeah.
And they're just so high demand.
Yeah.
They always will be needed.
Yeah,
too,
especially in
so-
like big cities. I have some cousins that live in Atlanta, and it's wild. Like the prices too are insane.
Yeah.
Because like the people know it's like I'm the guy in like this area. Like
Yeah.
there's hundreds of thousands of people, and there might be like 2 guys running that because that's just all. Not many people want to work one, and then
It's
not
crazy how
many
that
want
works
to
too,
do
right?
like trades. So it's like if you're willing to work hard and willing to learn that craft, and are like fairly good at it, I mean, you're set really.
Yeah.
So
For sure. I
Yeah.
mean, that's crazy though that there's just like not a lot of people that want to do that, like you're saying, and it really just is like a diligence thing. You have to have diligence, and I think I walked out of the room, so I don't know if you and Jake talked about this, but I felt it kind of going toward this way. Being a Christian,
Yeah.
and it really helps with diligence.
Yeah.
Just like looking toward Christ, always having him as the focus in your life.
Yeah.
And always having something to strive toward getting closer to and growing in and leading others to. That you need diligence for that.
Yeah.
And being a Christian helps you in the workforce and life and wherever you go.
Yeah,
So,
well, it's like the Bible verse. It talks about like work with all your heart as if you're working for the Lord, really,
Right.
in whatever you're doing. And what I talked about, what I learned from my trip out to England, is like their model is provide a good service and product, work diligently at it, do well in it, and have a good environment, like a good workspace, like, and then from that, it can lead into conversation possibly. It's like if you have a bad product, people are going to be like, man, these people kind of suck.
yeah.
But it's like if you have a good product and then you're very nice, it's a very welcoming environment because coffee shop, they're going to be like, oh, these people are really cool. Maybe I want to invest in this community, this business, or learn more about them. And then it can just slowly, especially in England, you have to go relationship first for evangelism. It's a very passive culture.
Right.
So like the way it is in America where you could just go up and say like, who is Jesus to you? That just is a major like turn off in England. Like they just, it's just not, it's different. And so it's interesting seeing a different culture and a different way of evangelism.
Yeah.
through
That's that's cool. I actually didn't know you've been to England.
Yeah.
I have never left the country. The farthest I've been, I mean, it was probably like Tennessee, North Carolina. So I have not traveled a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to like go learn other cultures like that
Yeah.
because, like you're saying, I'm sure it's different.
Yeah, it was
America's
interesting.
different than probably every other part of the world.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say people are like, man, there's a lot of battles against Christianity, which there are, but like, America is so welcoming to Christianity and more open to it than like it is in those countries. It's just a lot of the way that the culture is in England stems from the war, World War II still. So it's just it's a very passive, like they believe like God pretty much left them or abandoned them from the war. Because I mean it was devastating.
Yeah.
Like London got bombed and all that, and the kids were sent off to like the north. So it was just a lot happened from that, and it was interesting to see. And that was my first time flying, first time going international. So it was just a big leap, but I learned so much from it. So
Yeah, that's really cool. I would
So-
definitely like to travel to England. I'll add England to my list of countries that I want to
yeah.
go to. So
yeah. All right. Well, thank you for hopping on. You have to get going here soon.
I do
But
pretty
yeah,
soon, yeah.
just thank you for hopping on and let me pick your ear. I enjoyed this
Oh,
conversation.
absolutely.
So it was
Yeah.
super fun.
Anytime, and thank you really for just like having me opening up your building, which kind of looks like a school.
Yeah, yeah,
That was
yeah.
built in 1980 or whatever.
Yeah.
But
so,
it's awesome. You know, this set's awesome. So thank you
Yeah.
so much
Yeah.
for having me on. And yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. All right, guys, thank you for checking in. Thank you for just listening, viewing, subscribing, and liking. Please check in for more. We got some more episodes I'm shooting today. They'll be out, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.